everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cafecito. I'm your host, Christiana. I am excited to bring yet another episode to you all. You by now know what the Cafecito is all about. It's everyday people doing extraordinary things. And for those of us who think that extraordinary work has to be something that is flashy and in that celebratory space, please know that this is what everyday people are doing, that grind work. And our guest today is going to definitely speak directly to that. But you're that extraordinary person. So please, if you are doing something that is helping not just yourself, but your community, speak about it, talk about it, share, reach out to us. We'd love to sit with you, connect, and learn more and see how we can support what you're doing. I am excited to have my friend, my brother, King Vincent in the house. King Vincent in the house.
Hey.
I don't know why I got a little spiritual on you. You know what? I told you it's that beard. You know, Jesus beard coming out of you.
I appreciate that.
How you doing? Here. Yeah.
Man, it's been an interesting year, huh?
Listen, let's just say, I've been telling people this year has been one that requires us to like escalate whatever it is we're doing, like speed it up, but also have this like awareness, this level of consciousness, because awareness and consciousness to me are two separate things. But you have to have awareness before consciousness develop. But it's just powerful this year so far. And I feel like the years to come are going to have that same type of energy.
Yeah, I agree. I think, well, you know, I'm a quarantine expert. You know what I mean? I did some years in quarantine before, except when I did it, they called it prison.
Yeah, so, right, that part.
You know, they call it prison or incarceration. And so, you know, for us, it was almost like an opportunity to get back to that create mode, right? To get back to that opportunity to start thinking outside of the box. You sat us down in prison. You see what we created while we were there. You know what I'm saying? Like my question to the world, once you start to see a lot of the stuff that we done been doing during quarantine, is like, what did you do with your time in quarantine?
Come on.
You know, because is horrible as it is, right? There's also like this really interesting opportunity to learn things, right? Like to study things that you maybe might have been interested in, but never really had the you know, time, right? Like I think we use that as an excuse. I'm so busy, I don't have time, right?
Right.
But we're in quarantine, right? I learned how to analyze data. You know what I mean? It was like something that I necessarily wasn't interested in, but it's super important to what it is I do, right? And so I'm like, yo, I'm gonna take this Google Analytics class, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna learn how to analyze data on my website. And learn how to be able to leverage what I've learned from the data. And so learn how to do that. You know, I learned how to, you know, do some stuff in Adobe, right? Learn how to do some Photoshop stuff, because that's not my lane. I could tell you what I envision creatively, but I don't know how to actually create nothing. You know what I'm saying? As far as like a deck or, you know, something like that. And I'm like, I'm in quarantine. I'm not leaving.
Might as well learn it.
Might as well take a couple hours a day and knock these courses out and learn something. And so that's essentially what I did in prison. I read books, right? I wanted to learn about real estate. So what did I do? I got books that taught that thing, and I learned how to do that. And so for us, you know, people like me, it was a natural thing for me to be like, you know, and then on top of all of that, I realized how much money I was spending on lunches and, you know, dinners, drinks, things that never even amounted to closing a deal or even an opportunity. You know, so to me, it's almost like, man, I don't have to be in my car, right? I don't have to be in-person meetings when we have the technology for me to flesh that out in a video, right? Like, right? What are we talking about? Is there a check? Are you a decision maker? Can you cut us a check to do what we need to do? Okay, there's no need for me to pull up on you, spend a couple $100, in parking and food and drinks just to find out you're not even a person that can even activate what we're talking
what
about.
needs to happen.
So,
Listen, first of all, we did already jump into, I told y'all who this person is to me. We can flow all day, but first, we need the people to know who you are. Okay, I know who you are, this amazing king, but tell the people who you are and the company that you started.
Absolutely. So my name is Vincent Bragg. I'm the founder, co-founder, and CEO of a company called ConCreates. And what ConCreates is essentially we're a creative shop. So we do advertising, right? We do marketing, branding, PR. And I think the unique differentiating factor for us is we're powered by incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men and women across the country. So, the origin story is I think I kind of alluded to the fact that I went to prison and, met a whole bunch of folks in prison that just, I felt like that creative power, potential was just harnessed in the wrong way. And so the belief system in which I founded this company on is that creativity without opportunity is what leads to criminality. Right? If I would have known that the difference between me and any one of the Fortune 500 CEOs that people salute and admire was the fact that my product was illegal, I would have focused on a product that was legal and took that same hustle, that same grind, that same mentality, and applied it there. And so, one of my co-founders successfully robbed 27 banks, and I looked at him not as a bank robber. I'm like, wait a minute, like
you're a strategist,
no question. Like there's brands out there that'll pay you better than a doctor per year for the title brand strategist. And you created a plan and executed it successfully 27 times.
Right.
I don't think, what industry we talking about? To me, that's impressive. And so how do we begin to repurpose those natural, innate skill sets, right? And I like to look at it a little bit like a coach, right? Like I talked to a coach one time and he was telling me like he's watching these 14-year-old kids play baseball.
Okay.
And there was this one particular kid, he was like, okay, he can go to the major leagues. And I'm like, how can you tell at 14 that this kid can go to the major league? And it's because of the raw talent, right? A coach is able to see that raw talent, and it's the athletic department's job to sharpen, polish those edges that are so rough in order to play at a professional level. And so that's essentially what we do, right? We take these folks that are a little rough around the edges and we polish them up. And because I don't want to change you, right? I think you're beautiful the way you are, right? And so how do we just repurpose that? How do we push this in another direction? How do we channel that energy, that creativity into something that isn't deemed criminal or won't get you sent back to prison? So that's essentially who I am.
Listen, I told y'all who this man was. So, I mean, this was something that you see now, right? You saw opportunity for yourself. You saw how you had this mindset of creating something, of developing something, of building something from the ground up, and you understood how to make it successful. Unfortunately, it wasn't something that led to your freedom, but or allowed you to maintain your freedom. But talk a little bit about how you were able to shift your mindset. Because I think that when we're thinking about your situation, your story, the little bit that you told right now, I think all of us who may not have gone down that road can, on some level, appreciate our individual stories where we had wrong turns or a turn that could have landed us into a situation that could have yielded us losing our freedom or our life. I know I had a couple of, one too many, that could have ended in my life ending. But there was something that awakened inside of me that made me recognize that it was time for me to shift and to seek those that knew how to do it, because I wasn't really sure on how to do it. What happened for you, to shift your mindset? Because not everybody's story is like yours, where they're able to do a pivot and say, oh no, this is the road I want to be on. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a combination of things. I think in every book or in every, movie or story, autobiography, you're going to see, these different chapters and these different, opportunities, right? And I think we all every day run into opportunities to grow and learn. And sometimes, we don't actually pay attention to that, right? We don't pay attention to what are we supposed to be learning, even in confrontation with folks, right? It's like, what am I supposed to be learning from this? Because for me, it becomes about self-awareness. You talked about awareness earlier, and, just walking through life, just realizing like I created my own circumstance. Me going to prison I wasn't falsely accused. I was guilty, right? I did exactly what they said I did. I created those circumstances, and my belief system is like, it's a simple formula. Your beliefs dictate your thoughts dictate your actions, and your actions dictate your outcome. So for me, I always have to start with that premise of like, okay, so what do I believe about this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how is it causing me to think? Because that's what's going to cause me to react in the way that I do. And so, even before I've arrived there, right? I essentially just had a dream. I was in prison, sleep, and I had a dream that I was on the cover of the Forbes magazine 3 times in 1 year. And it said from felonies to Forbes on the cover. And the dream was so real and so vivid to me that when I woke up, that's all I kept thinking. And I even said that to my cellmate, was like, how am I supposed to make it to the Forbes magazine if I'm in here, right? And so that caused me to go down this rabbit hole of studying law, studying corporate law, studying real estate law, like getting into the law and trying to figure out how to get up out of this situation that I'm in, caused me to start reading other books and, other self-help books, and actually starting to realize like, wait a minute, like I wasn't as good of a dude as I believed I was, right? I could understand how people could, have certain impressions about me, even if that's not my intention, right? I could understand how certain things could, be put people in an awkward situation. So when I start thinking about just every situation, like, dang, these people told on me, they supposed to be loyal, this and that. But if I was a real man in that day, I would have never had women doing that. I would have never had women driving drugs from one end of the country to the next. I would have never put them in a situation to have to tell on me. Yeah. Right? I should have never put them in a situation to have to tell on me, right? And so it became for me to go like inward and be like, what am I doing, right? What am I believing, right? What am I thinking? How am I acting that's producing these outcomes? And so that just became my logic. And so I kind of approach every situation like, what do I believe about this?
Wow. You just broke down a level of emotional intelligence that I think is crucial for our students to be educated on early in their schooling. And oftentimes it's not, because that's not part of the rubric that they're graded on. And so it gets thrown to the wayside. But one of the programs that I used to run when I did work with secondary education was one that looked at self-awareness, understanding who you are, your why, and what are you going to do about it, connected to your belief and your values. Because whatever you believe, you value. And if you value it, then you're going to engage it, activate it, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. If you believe it, you value it, you will go over the cliff because you value that. And helping adults understand the mindset of a child to recognize that you too thought like that, but you didn't, you somehow was able to learn a different pathway to then help save yourself from going off the cliff, and others did not, right?
Let's be clear. Let's be clear, sis. I am a work in progress. This is nothing like, I'm not a master of this, right?
Yeah, no,
so it's easier said than done, right? I could give it to you like I'm a very good storyteller. I'm very articulate in that regard. But I'm actually actively attempting to learn how to actually have this as I'm going through the situation. Yeah. It's easy for me to step away from a situation and be like, I was out of pocket when I go through my belief system and all of that. But in that moment is the part that's the hardest part to actually implement this form of thing. And so I am by no means a master of that. And so I don't want people to, I think that's the unique part about who I am and what I do. And my story is I'm the first person to lead with my flaws. I don't have a problem being vulnerable and saying, like, it's not a theory for me. I do practice this, but I have not become a professional at what I just said to y'all. I understand that this is the formula. I'm able to step back a lot of times and analyze a situation that I've been through and be like, you know what, I was out of pocket. You know what I'm saying? And even if I don't feel like I was out of pocket, I could understand that this person's belief system is what triggered them to think and react the way that they did. You know what I mean? And so it's easier said than done. And I just want to make that clear to anybody who's listening to me.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think what's even more important is not just that you are still working through this process, but to also understand it takes a level of consciousness to even speak in the vein that you're speaking in and actually put the actionable steps together to actually roll this out, because this process is difficult because you're literally going against what seems to be easy. And so what you're sharing, I think, is so important for us to capture and recognize. It's imperative that we bring this into our education system, because it can help navigate students as they're coming of age, youth as they're coming of age, because not all households are able to have these conversations with their kids. And I think that when we're talking about emotional intelligence and how to start the conversations, how to do the actual work, it's conversations like this. It's also transparency and saying, I'm still a work in progress. But to even get to the place that you're at right now requires that you have a level of awareness that is the first step. And not everybody has.
It requires nothing but willingness, right? Like, I think we forget that, right? It's like, you just got to be willing to do the work. Like, ultimately, it's like, if you want to be better, I don't care what it is. If you want to play sports, you want to be better at basketball, for instance, you're just going to have to be willing to go to practice, right? You're going to have to be willing to dribble a ball more than anybody else. You're just going to have to be willing to do the work. And
But it goes back to value, though. You have to value it. You first have to recognize it's an issue, though. You recognize, like, I could come to you and say, hey, there's this a study that says smoking creates lung cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm healthy. My doctor said I have a clean bill of health. So there's no awareness for me. There's no value for me to accept what you're telling me. It's the same thing with what you're saying, you know, that I'm willing to self-evaluate and change. You have to see the value in that. You see the value in it, but it's only because you decided to actually put in the effort. But something triggered the decision for you. And you said it was the vision that was given to you.
Sure. And then along the way in that vision, so my belief system was like, okay, I dreamt it. That means that I can do this, right? I believe I could do it, right? And then because I believe that I could do it, I think about ways to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And because I'm thinking about the ways to do it, I'm acting on those things that I'm doing, that I'm thinking. And then my outcome is like, I have this company and it is what it is, right? And so that's a part of the formula. But along the way, you have these opportunities to gain other insights, right? And so, you know, one of my brand partners that I work with told me a story about how his company in 1 year grew 300%. And I was going through a whole bunch of turmoil, just like, you know, trying to figure out like how to scale my company.
Yeah.
And he said the most profound thing to me, but it was because I was willing and open to hearing some advice from somebody who's built an agency, right? Like someone who's already done what I'm attempting to do.
Yeah.
And he said that, look, we grew 300% in 1 year. And I realized that if I grow 300%, if the company grows 300%, I have to grow 300% as a leader. And with that being said, it was like, that's what's happening, right? Like the company is growing, right? There's more people coming in, different personalities. I have to grow as a leader.
Yeah.
I have to grow as a man to be able to grow with this company. Otherwise, I'm gonna get left behind. And so that was the opportunity for me to learn and be like, you know what? Let me go to therapy, right? Let me get an executive coach. Let me, you know, get some mentorship from other folks in advertising who've been doing it for a long time, so I can get that coaching part I was talking about, polish on the raw talent that I have, right? And so there's these opportunities along this journey. It's like, okay, I had this vision and this belief system, and it doesn't stop there, right? So there's a difference between like a goal and a plan, right? The goal is the vision, right? That's the end result. The plan is like, what are the steps it's going to take to get there?
Exactly.
Right? And because I'm only a person, right? I'm only a man. I got my own blind spots.
Absolutely.
And when you start noticing those patterns where it's like, why I keep running into this same thing? I can't keep looking at other people and saying like, it's them, right? I got to go inward and be like, yo, am I creating this outcome over and over and over, right? Because what am I believing? What am I thinking? And what am I doing that keeps bringing this outcome to me? So now I got to go back inside and be like, damn, I got some more work to do because I need to change this outcome. And so, you know, ultimately, like that's just like where I've kind of evolved to. And like I said, it's just, you know, I'm still going through it. You know what I mean? I do my therapy. I think a lot of Black men, I think a lot of Black folks don't understand the power of therapy.
I have one on tap, literally. I have one on tap. Whenever I need access, all it is an email or a text. I need to set up a meeting. And I've been doing that for over 15 years.
There's power in that. And I think coupled along with this kind of executive coaching that we do with our executive teams, because therapy to me is more like a place that I can vent. You know what I'm saying?
It's self-work.
Right. There's an objective person who's kind of just listening and potentially giving some insight
And
into
some
my
coping
own
skills.
personal, right. But then like the executive coaching aspect is like, hey, you're managing people, right? And there's a bunch of different personalities, and there's all these different types of personalities. And how are you have to interact with these different personalities differently. And this is how you do that, right? Like literally steps to be like, all right, this is how you do that, you know? And so I think both of those in coupled is how I'm getting here. But it took, you know, me bumping my head and seeing outcomes that I didn't want to see, that, you know, just caused me to be like, okay, what can I be doing to change those outcomes? And
I mean, what you're speaking here is resonates with me so deeply, because, like I said, when you have the willingness to make the sacrifice, obedience, discipline, and sacrifice. Those are the three ingredients for success for me. If I am willing to be obedient, if I'm willing to be disciplined, and I'm willing to make sacrifices, then I'll be able to meet whatever it is that comes before me. Whatever I want to achieve, I can do it. But if one of those things are lacking or less than, it won't manifest. But for you to have invested in yourself and continue to do so shows why ConCreate and all other businesses you will build beyond will meet those standards of success, because you're willing to improve and scale yourself.
people though.
Say it again.
And my people.
Oh, your team. Yeah, everyone around you. Yeah.
You think about people who have been to prison, like, and this is not to make an excuse for us, but that leaves a stain on you. Like, just imagine like being in fight or flight mode every day you wake up. Right? Every day you wake up, you don't know what's about to go on. Is somebody knocking on your cell door telling you put your boots on, you know, and just be ready. It leaves a stain on you. When respect, a simple excuse me, could literally be the difference between life or death in prison. Simple, just excuse me, like, yo, my fault, I stepped on your shoe. Now, if you say that the wrong way, you don't know what this man thinking and what he capable of. And I've seen this go wrong. You know what I mean? It's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. And so that alone just leaves a stain on you. You know, they have this term institutionalized. And my whole goal when I was in prison was like, I just do not want to be institutionalized. Like, they do this thing like when you sitting down and you eating with the men, when you get ready to leave, you knock on the table. And I'm like, I'm never gonna do that. I'm never gonna do that because, you know, to me, it just feels too prison-y, right? It just feels too institutionalized, right? But when you get into the psychology of that, it's like the kitchen is like the most dangerous place in prison. There's all sorts of things inside of a kitchen that could cause someone harm. Right. And so to knock on the table is to let everybody know that you go in peace. Because if you leave without knocking on that table, people they're gonna be looking around like, what is he on? You know what I mean? And so those kind of things like transfer out of prison when you've been doing it for so long, right? It transfers out of prison when you've been doing it so long. It's a habit to get up and knock on the table, and people are probably just like, what is he doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why do that every time he gets up? And so it's those sorts of things where it's like to actually let someone know you come and go in peace is a big thing in prison, because you never know what to expect. So you can't just walk through a group of people in prison without acknowledging everyone and saying, excuse me. Like, far before you get to the group, you have to, you know, kind of let them know, because they don't know what your intention is. They don't know what your intentions are, right? And so, you know, it's some of those things that the world, right, as a whole, society as a whole, aren't necessarily aware of those types of things. So then when you come out of that, you're expecting the world to understand that ideology. Yeah. I say that from a standpoint of like time. Time is super important to me because I feel like I lost a lot of time because I was in prison. And so when people are late or, you know, don't acknowledge being late or that sort of thing irks me because my time I feel is valuable. I feel like I will value your time. I just value time differently than society as a whole, right? And it's so easy for people to just be like, oh, my bad. But I'm inside, I'm steaming.
Yeah.
I'm steaming, right? And so I have to start to realize when we talk about self-awareness, I can't expect the world to think like I think, right? I can't expect the world to be on the same level of appreciation for time the way I do. And if I continue to walk around feeling the way I feel about time, I'm going to be pissed all the time. I'm going to be upset all the time. And that's not healthy, right? It's not healthy for me to walk around mad because people not respecting my time. You know what I'm saying? I have to change my association with time.
Yeah.
And can still be assertive and say, look, like I value time like this. You know what I'm saying? And I want to surround myself with people who also value my time. I can choose to engage with you in the way that I want to, but I don't have to be mad or she was late. You see, I showed up to this thing early. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm a couple minutes early because I respect time differently.
Yes.
So I can still be myself and let you know like how I feel about time without necessarily walking around being mad because you just might not be aware that that's my preference.
Right. And we have to have what you're talking about is like the language skills to be able to articulate, our association with certain triggers. There's certain things that we are pre-wired for. And I mean, the conversation we're having is related to prison, but this is with everyone in life. I mean, when I was doing counseling with, I used to do family, youth and family counseling. And I would talk often about how, when a parent was triggered by something their youth did and would react in a very aggressive or sometimes even violent manner, they weren't aware that it was wired to something that had nothing to do with that child. And the intention of the behavior from the child had nothing to do with how the parent was receiving it. And so being able to build those skill sets to articulate this is what's going on inside and self-manage. I mean, because what you're talking about is taking ownership of our own triggers and managing that in such a way so that we can better communicate to the person that we're dealing with outside. Again, that these are just things that I'll always go back to. They're so valuable to be enriched with our kids so that they don't have to. I mean, they're already going to encounter so much as they are maturing and growing up. If there's some things that we can do to help offset that, the better. I want to shift a little bit because I could stay talking about self-awareness and emotional intelligence like forever. But I want to shift a little bit and talk about for individuals who are listening, whether they're listening from a corporate sponsorship, fiscal space, or someone that may be incarcerated or have a loved one that is. Talk to me about the ways in which individuals can be involved with ConCreates.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, like this is something I've been thinking about too, because a lot of people are like, hey, I want to volunteer. How do I get involved? Right. Because we're a for-profit company. So it's not like I'm a nonprofit. I'm not asking people for donations. One of the things I think, from a corporate kind of standpoint, right, is to hire us, right? Like, especially in this climate, right? We have this opportunity where our voices are more needed in content and advertising. A lot of brands want to stand in solidarity with the Black community. And one of my stances is like, can't technically stand in solidarity with the Black community when the Black community is incarcerated at 5 times the rate of any other race, right? And so, you know, it just becomes another form of like exclusion when you're saying the Black community and you're not, you know, thinking about folks like us who are like attempting and trying to do right and, you know, make an impact in the world and impact our communities, right? I think that, again, goes back to that self-awareness. Like I realized how I took from communities, right? And damaged communities more than I helped, right? And so this is an opportunity for us to be able to help our communities, empower our communities. And so from a corporate standpoint, it's like, oh, hire us, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's a lot of initiatives out there that really impact our communities. And, you know, I feel like it's, you know, let's not just talk about something anymore. I think we're at the point now in this country where talking just not enough. I mean, we're having these panels and, you know, it's all about discussions and, you know, it's not about just giving a Black person a job neither, right? It's not just about giving a formerly incarcerated person a job, right? It's also about folks being able to sit at the table and make decisions, right? Folks being able to insert their voice into the way you're messaging. Because it's easy to be like, oh, I watched the 13th, I'm woke now. You know what I mean? And be like, no, I think you're missing the point. You know what I'm saying? There's, you know, like, it blows my mind, you know what I mean? And so you need these voices in your messaging. You also need folks like us to be able to hold you accountable and say, all right, cool. You put out this press statement and you said, this is what you were going to do. Who's managing that fund? Right? Who's making sure that the people get this money that you're saying you giving out?
Yep, that you're saying is allocated to this area. That's
no question. Who and okay, cool. I get that. There's certain celebrities and folks out there, you know, that have influence and, you know, things like that. But like, for real, like y'all just gonna give somebody with some money some more money instead of the people that's on the ground really doing the work.
Dude, for real, I've been talking about this. I'm like, why aren't we diversifying where the funding is? A lot of it has to do with accessibility, that there's not enough platforms that are pushing people like you. There's hundreds of thousands of people out there who have platforms that are sharing who they are and what they do, doing this great work. And yet it's like, where do we go to? Oh, here's your top 5. What?
Right.
There's millions of, why are you choosing your top 5? What?
Right. And I could look at it, if we're talking about it from a corporate standpoint, maybe it's ROI, right? How are we going to see the return on our investment when we know this particular influencer or celebrity has influence to actually make something happen, you know? And so I could understand the logic, but the part that's illogical to me is this part of the system hasn't worked thus far. Right. So if we really trying to change something, let's just change the way we do business first off, right? How do you get on the ground and fight? Like, you want to figure that's the problem. It's like folks throw money at something and then they like, okay, like, stop complaining. We let y'all vote. What more do you want? We freed you as slaves. Like, what more do you want? And it's like, no, you can't just throw money at a situation and expect that to change it. Mm-hmm. And if you are going to throw some money in a place, you can't put it in the hands of the people who already got the money. That to me just is illogical. Yeah. That's a broken logic where it's like you said, there's thousands and thousands of men and women doing the work, right? And scraping and scratching for grants and funding, when it's like, take a chance. Take a chance on some people who, you know, and do something different. Like, imagine what you could do with $1 billion and you're $100 billion corporation with just 1,000 companies that are just on the ground doing the thing, scraping and scraping.
Literally.
you could literally give 1,000 companies across the country $1 million and satisfy that situation and say,
Right.
look, I helped 1,000 nonprofits or 1,000 organizations to impact thousands of more people, instead of giving $1 billion away to 5 almost billionaires, 100 millionaires, and expecting that these people are not on the ground. They don't got the same access to the people.
Right. Right. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that what you're saying speaks volumes to why there is this imbalance. And it is up to us to change that narrative to say funding that's coming out, we want to ensure that it's going in the right direction and that it's equally dispersed across communities so that we can continue to push the needle in the right direction. Let's talk a little bit about those who are incarcerated. So like, how does the process work? Can someone come on board while currently incarcerated? Do they have to be released? Like, how would they, and yeah, just how does that work?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of, I don't actually work with prisons. And so a lot of like the way I do certain things, is proprietary. So, but essentially like, yeah, you could come on board. I think, again, just knowing the law, like there's always a loophole, right? And so the policy states that someone in prison cannot run an enterprise from behind bars, right? They're not,
Okay.
I am. And that they cannot benefit from their crime. So if you rob 27 banks, you can't write a book on how to rob 27 banks and like get paid for that. So essentially, yes, you can come on board while you're in prison. And, we have communication systems that allow us to share ideas and things like that back and forth. Mm-hmm. And, I think the way that it works for us is we kind of like to start with the crime, right? And think about reverse engineering that. Like, okay, cool. Like you did this and this is, maybe you were a career offender, right? That's what they might have called you. It's like, you've been to prison 3 times for, drugs, right? And so, it's interesting when you think about people who have drug addictions. To me, people who have drug addictions make the best salesmen, right? So I would be looking at that as like, okay, like tell me stories about when you were addicted to drugs, how you would, come up on money, how you would, come up on drugs, and you start to hear these interesting sales tactics, and you start to see those sorts of things. And so I'm able to kind of, take the elements of that process and trim off all of the unnecessary criminality behind it, and that's how we formulate like job positions.
Wow. I mean, what you're doing, like I said, is so innovative, and I know the team of co-founders that you have around you and the work that you all are doing. I mean, we didn't even have time to go into the advocacy work that you all are doing, but again, anyone who's interested in, yes, the Cafecito, anyone who's interested in either being a partner, whether you're providing funding opportunities or hiring the company to come in and do work for you, please do reach out. If you have family that you think, or friends, or anyone that you think would benefit on the side that either has recently been released or is currently incarcerated, still reach out. And even if you are looking to, Vince spoke to it earlier about volunteering, even though they're not, they're a for-profit organization, if you have a skill set, and I've been talking probably since May to a lot of individuals who work for corporations, and they're frustrated with how their company operates, but they themselves are allies, and they say to me, I have this skill set, I know how to do this, I'm an expert at this, and I want to come and help and teach. how can I fit into what you're doing? And I don't want, the flashing lights. I just want to come and do the work. So if you're that person and you have a skill set in a particular area and you want to lend your services, please do also reach out, because again, the idea is to change the narrative so that we have less incarcerated and over periods of time that are unnecessarily dished out, and we know why that's happening. But Vince, tell the people how they can find you.
Sure. So you can reach out to us, via email, or go to our website, ConCreates.com. That's ConCreates.com. There's email addresses up there, info@ConCreates. Reach out to us via email, social media, ConCreates, but it's spelled with an 8, so CRE, the number 8 TES, right?
I'm gonna put it's okay. I'm gonna put all of it in here. He's also on LinkedIn. You can find him.
They're gonna kill me about that too.
I know it was a struggle. I was like, oh, let me help my brother out. He's on LinkedIn. You can find him by his name, Vincent Bragg. You can also
Bragg, no S.
Say it again.
Bragg, no S.
Yeah, Bragg, no S. You know what? Because I have extended family that is last name Braggs, but with the S, so don't put the S on there. But you can also find him on LinkedIn, Instagram. He's also on the We the Plug membership page as well. So definitely reach out. Again, we're looking for allies, anyone who is supporting this cause and helping to change the narrative for that of thriving and not just surviving. Vince, thank you so very much for taking out the time. I know you have a jam-packed day today, and I do appreciate your time and also your transparency. I didn't know we were going to go so deep into the whole emotional intelligence thing, but I really do appreciate that, because that's an area that is priority for me, because it governs every part of my life. So thank you for today. I appreciate you. Bye.
Thank you. Gotta have coffee and do this again,
I know. Okay, well, listen, I'm gonna text you after this is over so we can set up a time where, we catch up. So
sounds
all right.
good.
I appreciate you. Have a great rest of your day.
Have a great rest of yours as well.
Thank you. Bye.